Hello and welcome to CIO News. I am Khushbu Soni, your host for the broadcast and chief editor at CIO News. This is our exclusive interview series with the voice of CIOs, powering the CIOs and the CISOs in India. It is a recorded session and will be available on our website, that is cionews.co.in, and our CIO News LinkedIn handle. It gives me an immense pleasure in introducing our guest for today. He is Ashutosh Bijoor, the Chief Technology Officer at Accion Labs. Ashutosh has over 20 years of rich experience in the technology industry with customers ranging from startups to large multinationals in a wide range of industries, including high-tech engineering, software, insurance, banking, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, media and entertainment, and many more. Ashutosh is experienced in leading and managing cross-functional teams through the entire product development lifecycle, skilled in emerging technologies, software architectures, framework design, reuse and agile process definition, implemented enterprise solution, as well as commercial products in domains ranging from big data, business intelligence, graphics and image processing, and many more. Ashutosh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much. It's great to meet you and be on this. So thanks for having me here.
Awesome. Ashutosh, to begin with, I wanted to put across my first question. Being a CTO of an organization, what does your typical day looks like?
Yeah. Well, I think in the last 2 years, things have changed drastically. And, we have, thanks to COVID, we have been forced to really completely restructure our business. And so our day has actually become simpler because there's no commuting anymore. We all work from home. And so I think that has changed things quite a bit. It has, on one hand, made a few things more difficult because, we don't have face-to-face meetings. And so you have to deal with situations like this where we are virtually talking to each other. But on the other hand, it has really helped us globalize. And so what has happened is, earlier I used to have, a couple of hours of commute time to think on my own. And today there is just no time because I have calls from, across the world now, and there's no excuse saying, hey, I'm traveling or I'm driving. So, there are no excuses anymore. So I guess a large part of my time is spent on talking to people across the world. So, yeah, so it's a different world. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Awesome. My next question is, as a CTO, what strategies are you implementing in your organization to achieve cloud adoption journey and various innovative technology solutions?
Well, cloud has been traditionally viewed as more as a technology play where you're trying to save money or trying to outsource your technologies into a managed services model. But I think the real opportunity that we have today is, in many ways, do less than we have traditionally had to do. The biggest benefit of cloud adoption for us and for many of our customers is really to focus on your core part of your business capabilities, and then deal with more like a composable services that can augment your business by using cloud. What this means for us in particular is that we are able to focus on what we are really good at, and this has actually made a very measurable impact on the rate of growth for us. So this is not merely cost saving exercise, it has actually had revenue impact in the sense that we are able to actually have a palpable difference in the rate at which we are able to grow, because we have more like services which you can club into our core business as and when it is required. So I think that's the real promise of cloud adoption. That's the direction that we are pushing in both in our organizations as well as for our customers.
Awesome. And my next question is around artificial intelligence. So, what challenges can be overcome by artificial intelligence in this post-COVID era? Your thoughts around that?
So, you know, I mean, AI is a very broad field, but I think I'll focus more on AI is, particularly well suited for analyzing and trawling through large amount of data and combining information from different sources. So as an example, one of our customers is a hospital, which is specifically treating arthritic patients. Now, the problem with arthritic patients is arthritis is not a curable disease, and it continuously degrades. So what happens is the amount of care you need to give and the type of medication you need to give to do pain elevation, things like that, depends on the level of degradation of arthritic joints. Now, traditionally, this is done by taking X-rays on a regular basis, and there's somebody who monitors and examines your X-ray. And this is a very, very time-consuming effort. And therefore, what happens is typically people try to take shortcuts, and there's a lot of potential human error. What we have done with AI now is that we have been able to automatically classify, X-rays. Now, taking the X-ray does not take any time because it's an automated process, but analyzing X-rays, what happens now, as opposed to what used to happen before, is that the system using AI is able to automatically classify and first of all, identify where the joint is in an X-ray, because you may take, let's say, knee X-rays, take the entire knee, and then you have to find out where the knee joint is. So the system is able to identify where is the joint, which means localization of the area of interest, and then classify that area to say how much degradation has occurred as compared to previous level. Now,
Right.
this actually has made a direct impact on the number of patients that the hospital is able to treat, with the same number of expert staff.
Right.
So there is this is a very interesting example, but specifically, relating to COVID, what has happened is, there is a lot of interest in drug repositioning and repurposing and drug testing, which is traditionally a very long drawn out affair. But I think what's happened is due to some research that happened just last year, we are able to actually measure the performance of existing drugs.
Yeah. I think I lost you, Ashutosh.
Go ahead. Did you lose me?
Yeah, in the last 10 seconds.
Right.
When you were talking about the
So I was just saying that, in drug repurposing is a very interesting application, which has, I think, really got some measurable progress in the last year or so. So there's a lot of promise, I think, in using AI, especially in the context of, analyzing data that already exists.
Right. Right. Awesome. I think a very good use case, in fact, to look at. Great. My next question is around blockchain. Is blockchain becoming a technology that is relevant for today's digital business? And if so, how? If you can share some thoughts around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, traditionally blockchain is better known for cryptocurrency. But actually that's just one, I think, early model that has used the basic technology, underlying technical model that enables blockchain is really decentralization of data. That means instead of having one database which holds, all data which is collected from multiple places, you're now able to actually decentralize your data. You can still treat it as a single virtual database. So blockchain doesn't have any single node of failure. It's replicated. It's also secure. All of these are basic models which is possible now to be used in multiple contexts. And I want to give you a very interesting example because, in Accion, where blockchain challenge with blockchain is that, it makes sense in a business context, which typically involves lots of different entities, right? Either business entities or people. Now, traditionally what happens is technology investments are made by individual entities, whether it's an individual business or so on and so forth. And so the mapping of blockchain to traditional technology applications is a little difficult. It's, of course, it's there, but it's a little more hype than actual value, I would say, in my honest opinion. But the true value of blockchain comes when you have a more community-driven approach. And for us to be able to, short circuit this process, we actually created a CSR project in a very small village in India, in the Konkan coast, not very far from Mumbai. And what we did was we wanted to prove that actually decentralized data technologies can actually have an impact on even, sort of digitally underprivileged people who don't have access to connectivity, they don't have access to some of the technologies that we take for granted.
Right.
And this was a very interesting experiment that has really surprised even us with the success that we have got, because now villagers in this village, there is no mobile connectivity, right? But they're still able to communicate with each other by using a decentralized set of nodes. And these are small, very cheap devices which are spread all over the village. They're powered by solar, and they are able to communicate with each other. The people are able to communicate with each other. They're able to store their data, like their land records and things like that. And we're really surprised by how powerful a new technology like this can be in a context that is not a traditional technology context.
Correct.
So I think there are the type of applications that we will see coming out of technologies like blockchain are not necessarily impacting traditional applications. It's more actually new type of applications that we have not seen before.
Correct. Great. And how useful can Internet of Things be in transforming overall business landscape in the current scenario?
Yeah, well, I think the root phenomenon that's happened is that embedded computing and sensors have become really cheap and very easy to get. And they're also standardized to a large extent. So what's happened is that the effort and cost required to set up, a distributed smart set of devices is very cheap today. And it's, reducing as we every year. So what's happened is, phenomenon like smart cities, smart buildings, and so on and so forth is now becoming more viable. And it requires less infrastructure to be able to create more organized systems because of IoT. Now, I talked to you about our village project, and incidentally, one of the use there is IoT, because when you have a decentralized data model that uses technologies like blockchain, you want to be able to use data, that is out there in the field and not something that only human beings are entering. And one application is really, really interesting, but completely unexpected for us was, when we put this whole system in the village, we asked them, okay, what kind of things would you like us to do, right? What's your wish list of something that can be done without using manual effort? And we were like, we expected, we want to use it for farming and we want to use it for water supply and things like that. They came up with some really, really surprising ideas. So they said, hey, what's the biggest problem? This village is surrounded by forests. So basically what happens, you plant something, there are wild animals, and especially wild pigs and monkeys that come and destroy your crop. Okay. So what happens is the farmers go and spend their nights in the field, and making noise by beating on some metal things to keep the animals away. So they said, can your technology do this for us? And we'd like to sleep in our homes, instead of sleeping in the village, in the farms. So the most surprising thing is we actually created a POC where there was a heat sensor and a motion sensor device, which was, fit in the field, okay, which automatically recognized when there was any movement or heat sensor, so that, there's animals or whether they move, and it automatically created sound, right, by using a speaker. I mean, it's very, very simple technology. There's no rocket science in this. But the point I'm making is, these applications that you can create by using smart decentralized and distributed smartness are not necessarily saying, okay, how can we reduce cost of existing business applications? I think the real power of both blockchain and IoT, especially combination of these two technologies of
Yeah,
decentralized data and decentralized smart devices, is really phenomenal, because there are areas that we have never imagined were possible before that's going to be
true,
possible to do.
true. Yes, I think I couldn't agree more, and that's going to be a real transformation for all of us. So wonderful insights, Ashutosh. Thank you so much once again for joining us on this platform and sharing these wonderful use cases that you've come across, your experience, your journey, and how you see foresee technology. So thank you once again, and it was a pleasure to host you on CIO News.
Thank you, Khushbu. Really nice talking to you, and thanks for having me again.